Hey guys, and welcome to Mecharashi. We do have a couple of days left before the collab lands, and let's see where do these characters rank and who fell down from the tier list. So as we start with our tier list, we begin with tier 5. This doesn't have much of a change since the last one. We still do have Arnold, Raven, and Hawkwood for this one. And for tier 4, again, there has been no change. Most of the tiers 4 and 5 have no movement because the movement is actually right at the top, probably from tier 0 to tier 2. Okay, so let's go to tier 3. Tier 3, also no change here. We still do have Rebecca, Kaiden, Cicero, Allison, Gareth, and Anna. So this is where the fun starts because at tier 2, we do see Mary actually going down. So Mary goes down because there are the collab per se has a good amount of characters that a lot are actually good, and the previous characters mostly are going down. It doesn't mean that they're going down, that they suck, but again, in terms of the tier list, there are better characters, so to say, that are arriving. Mary is still good. She still has value, but she drops down to tier 2. Somebody replaced her at tier 1. Then we do have Gumashay, Camilla, Lucia, Shawnee, Natalia still here at tier 2. And for your garden, you still have Yevgeny. So again, only Mary actually slipped down. So let's take a look at our tier 1. Sorry, tier 1. Okay, so this is where I think the fun starts because we're gonna be discussing a lot more on our Evangelion characters. The first one is at tier 1, and it's going to be Shinji. So Shinji, just want to give you guys an overview of what he brings to the table. He has reattack, synchronization rate. It's part of their kit. It's part of their kind of their gimmick or mechanic. So when synchronization goes to a specific level, sniper rifle and heavy machine gun range is a +1, and final damage is a +15, which gives him more versatility than any of the characters in the collab. So again, he's a raider, but he can use a sniper rifle and a heavy machine gun. Plus, also for synchronization, damage +10% and damage taken -10%, and crit rate is +30%. This is where he is going to give you value as probably a sniper more than a raider because of the crit rate, a high of 30%. That is high enough. Then for the self buff, he can actually copy enemy buff as one of his skills. Also a self buff, arm part armor is a +20%, which again is very valuable for either using a heavy machine gun or a sniper rifle. Then for his buffs or effects for self, HP recovery for each of the buff that he has. So that is actually unique. Increase buff duration by one turn, and can use either HMG or sniper rifle. Take note that Shinji, guys, is free. There's a big possibility that if you, I think, clear it up to chapter 10, you can get I think 5 copies of her, 5 copies of him. Plus, you could get copies of the mech. Again, Shinji is of great value because again, the character in the mech is free. So definitely, he will be bringing Mary down from tier 1. But again, his value is his versatility, and at least if if you can't get 5 copies of him, at least get 3 at A3. Again, he is free, and you could only get Shinji from the collab. So for your fighter, we do have Hong still at tier 1. We do have Fia, Naomi, Winston. I was contemplating on actually bringing down with the arrival of Shinji. But from what I see, both of them might complement each other. Winston is still king of fixed damage. I kid you not. Still very good in terms of his ability to take down bosses. And again, I think Winston is still here to stay for a bit, but we'll see in the future. So he is at tier 1. Then we do have 7 at tier 1 as well. Then we do have Typhus at tier 1. Okay, let's go to Typhus. Let's take a look at what he gives, because our next comparison for Typhus would be Rei. How is Rei compared to Typhus? Since you don't see Rei here, Rei is obviously in the upper tiers. Okay, so Typhus is Guard, Guts, Indestructible 1. As for self buff, damage taken -10 for each ally within the defense field. So his specialty is within his defense field. Without the defense field, he is really one of our best defensive guardians in this game so far. But again, he's limited to that defense field. Okay. Damage plus 5% up to 15% on retaliation within for each ally within the defense field. So again, most of his mechanics rely on that. For the buffs effects for self and others, okay, damage taken is -15 to all allies within a tile. Magneto-resistive field grants plus 10% damage dealt to allies within the defense field. This is, however, at A3. So take note, he does have kind of a buff, but again, it's within the defense field, and it's at A3. Then enemy debuffs, movement -1, movement inhibition, can only use normal attacks with weapons, or not movement inhibition, weapon inhibition. Then he has airspace blockade, intimidation, which is unable to move. Airspace blockade is probably one of the things why you want to get him. So all in all, I would say that Typhus is a defensive guardian. Purely I think one of the best that we have. So he has a fixed damage at gamma 2, CP 16. He only requires one copy at A0. But if you want to move with the buff for allies within the defense field, 10% damage dealt, then you have to go to A3, which I think is not a worthwhile investment unless you want to really use him and you like his gameplay. Okay, so let's go up to tier. This is tier 0.5. So this is rarefied air here. So for tier 0.5, right now I have put Sylvie from tier 0 to tier 0.5. So the weapon that she has, the Veiled Scent, doesn't really set her apart from Kelly. When Kelly gets her signature weapon, definitely Kelly is vaulting to tier 0. So right now they are still toe-to-toe at tier 0.5. I kid you not. Again, this has been probably one of the things that I had to carefully check whether it's worth to put Sylvie at tier 0, but at this point I would put her at tier 0.5. Kelly is the damage that Kelly puts out, especially for bosses, is one of a kind. And apart from Frida, of course, but Kelly is also good for individual, smaller mechs. So again, Kelly can take somehow the role of Sylvie, but Sylvie cannot take the role of Kelly. But both of them right now are at tier 0.5. Okay, so let's take a look at Rei. So you guys might be wondering why Rei is at tier 0.5. I've spent a couple of hours not hours but minutes reviewing her kit. It's definitely better than what Typhus has. So triggered abilities, you have guard, also triggers during melee damage. So take note of that. That is, for me, is one of the rarest skills that we have for a guardian, Link Attack, which she has as a guardian. Synchronization, once it activates for a certain level, so when it exceeds 50%, for every 10% link attack, for every 10% link attack multiplier is from 0.05 to zero point 0.2. So this increases her viability as a link attacker, even though she is actually a guardian. So Rei will be a mix of offense and defense. Kind of good because you would want a little bit more damage from your guardian, especially when you need to. For self buffs, at the end of the action, grant one random buff to Rei and to one ally within 3 spaces. So this is actually very helpful. This is actually very helpful to her companions for the collab, particularly Shinji. Okay, and buffs and effects for self and others. So undestroyed parts will recover 10% of HP. Next is minus 15% damage taken if there are destroyed parts. So if one of her parts is destroyed, then she takes less damage. Repair one destroyed part, grants one random buff to allies who participated in the link attack. Also, minus 5 damage taken, max 3 stacks after each link attack. So as she performs more link attacks, she actually has less percentage, has more negative percentage damage taken. She can also swap positions with an ally within 3 squares, AP recovery for ally during link attack when an enemy part is destroyed, and recovers 50% of the shield's HP. So she herself in her kit has HP recovery. You don't need to have a machinist recover her HP. Then you do have fixed damage for her skill 7, and you only need one dupe for her. The dupe at A3 extends her minimum guard range. So you might want that as an add-on, but it's not essential to or central or essential to her kit. So that is why she is actually better than Typhus. A lot of balances between offense and defense. She does have a lot of defense within her and a lot of offense as well. So you might want to take a look at her kit right now. She will be our best guardian to boot. I think if you compare her with Typhus in terms of their kit, she is a plus probably. If you rank, she probably outclasses Typhus by just a small bit, not much, but enough to have her at tier 0.5. Okay, so last on our list is going to be tier 0. We still have Lorna, Melissa on tier 0. We do have Eileen, and we do have Frida. Frida's dropping soon. I'm just waiting for more raiders, but Frida is dropping to tier 0.5 as soon as we do have our reinforcement of new raiders. But that is not the topic for today. So we do have Asuka. She is a light mech user. For her triggered ability, she has reattack, react, synchronization, final damage plus 15%, increases when dealing damage, but does not decrease when receiving damage. Okay, so this one is meant for synchronization. So synchronization increases when dealing damage, but does not decrease when receiving damage. AP recovery amount is a +1. Plus for the self buff, she has crit rate buff according to HP max of 20%. Then she has buffs, effects for self after a perfect match, recover 1 AP. Damage increased by 20% if no damage was taken after using a damage skill. And last one is plus 50% damage to all parts below 50%. So for her, Most of her upside is on her personal, on her self buffs, on what damage she can bring. Not much in terms of debuffs in terms of enemies, but her skill itself is actually impressive on how they built her and how she's going to be dealing maximum damage. Not so much for all of these effects, but the skill herself. Do priority. We do have her at A0 as well. But again, if you could have her at A3, the better, guys. Let's go back first to Rei. Rei is at A0. So most of the Evangelion collab mostly needs A0. They're not very needy at A3. Shinji, however, is free in the mech, so you have to take him at least to A3. The rest, Asuka and what do you call this? And Rei, at least A0. But if you could get Asuka to A3, really, really, really better. But her mech, guys, take note, her mech is a gem. I would suggest that you have her mech at the rainbow if you can, or even a fake rainbow if you don't have enough resources. So that is it, guys. That is where they are placed. Comment down in the comment section what do you think. Take care, stay safe. This is the Warden, and I'm out of here.